Hello and welcome to your daily dose of Satoshi's news. Today's date is Thursday, the 4th of December 2025. The year BSV comes alive. Branch your threads, expand your mind with treechat.ai or your post put on chain. Alright, let's see what we've got today. So again, just some posts on my profile that we're going to have to go through. Gonna spend most of today talking about, responding to Ty Everett's post here. And also Craig Mason's response to that, because I'm just going to weigh in on it, because why not? And then we go through the figures, as per usual, see what's going on with money market cap. Oh, still 89 million. Yeah, have a look at some of these things. We've got some 365 days of Bitcoin history. It's a good one today. There we go. Nice one, Pete. Craig Wright submitted a crazy amount of evidence that he is Satoshi in my lawsuit. What's your point? Well, the point might be that he is Satoshi Nakamoto, because who else could submit that amount of evidence? And then we'll finish with the Kalishwella countdown. Right, let's get into it.
Craig says he's Satoshi, like a cowboy in the West, riding on the blockchain that they call the Fairy Fist. 1 million strong, them transactions flying free. He's a claim in his legacy, you'll surely see.
Alrighty, here we go. Let's start off with this one. Big news from Money. They've said here, big news, Money is now partnered with Bannock's Official. Users in 150 plus countries can purchase money using local payment methods, from cards to bank transfers, through Baxa's secure, compliant fiat to crypto rails. This integration removes one of the biggest barriers to stablecoin adoption, making it easier for everyday users, businesses and creators to access money directly from local currency. I mean, that's huge. I just wonder what the commission is that they're charging. If that commission is tiny and it just means that they can access it, that means that they can send dollars anywhere in the world, like effectively for free, for a micro payment. Literally, that is absolutely awesome. So yeah, that is massive news. Massive news. Quite looking forward to trying that out myself. But if anybody else has tried that, please let me know. Had to put this woke crap emoji on this one. Again, a promotion for Pirate Chain. I mean, honestly, when you realise they're just absolute pieces of utter garbage. But you know, we're up against the oldest, most powerful mafia, literally Satan's mafia, Satan's followers that the world has ever seen. And it's literally purely BSV. This is literally like Satan versus Satoshi, you know. And this is the kind of shit that we're up against. But utility is what wins out at the end of the day, and that's what I'm sort of going to bring to the point, commenting on Ty's and Craig's videos here. Bitcoin Dictionary has said, we're days away from the Clarity Act grand finale. BSV is the only commodity. And there's a link here to SEC. Let's have a look at this one then. Also, this is actually on the US Securities and Exchange Commission's website. What's this? CTF written submission, BSV Blockchain Association. The BSV Blockchain Association advocates for a regulatory framework that distinguishes between digital assets serving as a data infrastructure or utility tokens and those operating as financial instruments. The association supports the development of and recognition of digital commodities. Development of digital commodities. There is only going to be one digital commodity, and that is Bitcoin BSV. That's it. You can't create a digital commodity. And even if you did create a protocol that commoditizes data, you would still have to go through the process of commoditization, which is neutral organic growth, that BSV has been through since 31st of October 2008, right the way up to, continuing today, because Satoshi Nakamoto still hasn't been recognized, so therefore it's still growing without any central point of influence, even though all chains of signatures lead back to the Genesis block, which is how we know Satoshi Nakamoto was always going to reveal himself in the future. But he's still not been recognized yet, so the neutral organic growth phase continues. So another digital commodity would have to now grow for more than 17 years. You know, it's crazy. Crazy. What we're dealing with. Like, blows my mind. So this digital commodities, where an asset's value is derived from its underlying blockchain system's utility rather than speculative activity. No, actually, it doesn't derive from its underlying blockchain system's utility. Anything can be useful. It derives... the commodity is actually... The commodity value is derived from its underlying protocol, which is not just the blockchain. It is a distributed, economically competitive foundation with a blockchain extending from it, with a chain of digital signatures integrated into it, with unbounded scale and a fixed token supply. So that's not correct there. Utility. Anyway. The BSV blockchain's digital asset recovery framework integrates a legal due process with the blockchain operations, allowing for lawful asset recovery without altering historical blocks. Very good. Very good. So anyway, I mean, I just wish they would explain the protocol to these, you know, regulatory bodies. If they can't explain the protocol, they can't explain Bitcoin. And if they can't explain Bitcoin, the regulators have just been going, don't quite get it. You have to explain it. Need me doing that, really. Never mind. But yeah, so Bitcoin Dictionary says we are days away from the Clarity Act grand finale. All right. Well, yeah, fingers crossed. Days away. Does that mean less than a month or weeks? I'm not sure. So my response to that was true, but let's see if those that steward the BSV, explained the Bitcoin protocol clearly, we'd stand a better chance. But also, political institutions are corrupt as fuck and protect their own interests. If government had interests of its people and the economy at the forefront, then absolutely. Yeah. So you know, because of the state of play at the moment, I'm just not sure. I wish I was that confident. You know, I mean, I know he's correct. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see, like I said. BSV Association said here, while some are busy debating block size, we're quietly building real success on chain together as a community. Terranode's huge blocks plus unlimited scale equals endless possibilities. Building the future, sweating block limits. We figure it's better to use your time. We figure it's a better use of your time, yeah. Loving this, though. Debating block sizes, yeah, gets nowhere. Teranode, terabyte blocks, no limits. Beautiful. Loving that. Great image there. If Batman did Formula 1, eh? That's what it would look like. Chris Daw, King's Counsel, said here, Lame Lammy forgot something important this morning. The presumption of innocence and the importance to most of us of not being convicted of a crime we did not commit. If I were falsely accused of stealing an iPhone from Curry's this afternoon, then with my whole life and career on the line, I would 100% want a jury trial. And that is how it should be. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, what they're suggesting at the moment is literally Tyranny 101. And Awakened Outlaw said here, did you know that the term fossil fuel was a globalist marketing scam started by Rockefeller to gaslight the public into believing oil was a finite commodity to create the aura of scarcity around it and the mindset of the public? Yeah, well, we've known that.
That boy, after we take the next few barrels out, we're probably going to have to close as well, you know, that kind of thing. Well, a very fortuitous event. In 1892, there was a convention in Geneva of scientists to determine...
I'll have to pause here because of the stuff in the background.
...what organic substances are. At this Geneva convention, Rockefeller took advantage of sending some scientists over.
I'm sure he did.
They defined oil as the residue from formerly living matter.
Yeah, we all know that's a hoax. I mean, what an absolute joke. What an absolute joke. UTXO Times said here, Tom Lee, Bitcoin could go as low as $55,000. Didn't Bitcoin Dictionary predict that Gradecoin would go to $50,000. Seems to be coming out with the same, but Gradecoin BTC could actually go to zero very quickly. So again, I mean, and then 1 minute he's saying it's going to go to $250,000. Next minute he's saying it's going to go to $50,000. They just don't know which way to play it. A bit like exposing Craig in the beginning. They were just like, well, should we expose him? Should we not? Let's expose him, and then call him a fraud. Like, yeah, I don't think they know quite how to deal with it at the moment. This was hilarious, and again, this is why the world needs Bitcoin. British Intel has said here, Labour now allow multiple wives to claim benefits in the same household. The Labour government has upgraded the benefit system so that households with multiple spouses married abroad under polyamorous arrangements can all claim taxpayer money. Absolutely ridiculous. Bigamy is illegal in the UK, but the rule doesn't apply when the marriage happens overseas. Oh yeah, but if you get yourself, if you get a picture of you taken with a gun overseas, then you can be locked up for that. There's no limit to the number of spouses who can claim within one home. What an absolute joke. British families struggle while the migrant households receive expanded entitlements. Yet again, Labour priorities vote buying over fairness, law and basic cultural standards. Yeah, absolutely disgraceful. This is not compassionate state-sponsored exploitation of the British taxpayer. How much more are people willing to put up with before Labour is thrown out? And they've said here, Rachel Reeves slammed as extra benefit dished out to second wives in polyamorous marriages. I mean, they're literally just trying to antagonise the people is what they're trying to do. Exclusive, the Taxpayer Alliance says it is astounded that the money is handed out to additional spouses. And again, I actually know people that used to work for the Department of Work and Pensions, and they saw how much funding was being dished out to immoral, undemocratic, unvoted for issues, and they literally just couldn't believe it. They knew basically that DWP is a criminal enterprise, and that's why they left. They literally just couldn't believe it, and they couldn't say anything either because whistleblowers are not protected. They're attacked. It's all part of one big mafia. All part of one big mafia. How long are they going to continue to get away with it is the question. And James Melville said here, the UK has committed a total of £21.8 billion in support of Ukraine. There's your £22 billion black hole. See, what an absolute joke. And British Intel says here, plans for a nature reserve scrapped to build Britain's biggest Muslim cemetery. A proposed nature reserve in Oswald Whistle has been rejected, so the land can be turned into what will reportedly become the largest Muslim cemetery in the UK. A town of just 10,000 residents now set for a huge religious site they never asked for. Green space sacrificed to satisfy demand for a rapidly growing imported demographic. Locals voicing concerns are smeared instead of listened to. Yet another example of Britain's landscape being reshaped without public consent. Beautiful English countryside ripped up and to accommodate a foreign religious priority, and ordinary people are expected to pretend this is progress. How much more of this will Britain accept before they say enough is enough? Again, I mean, it's all part of the Kalergi plan, all funded by the banks. I mean, it's just horrendous what's going on. You'd never have believed it a few years ago, but again, it all started from COVID. That's where it all started from. And again, this advert from McDonald's, a kid appears in it, and we know they have to tell us, it's this part of their religious karma. Look, there's a kid pops up from that bag there, implying what's in their burgers. We all know, oof. Right, let's get on with this one. So this is quite a good video from Ty. So what I'll do is I'll just comment on it as we're going through it. Here we go.
So why is there no funding in the BSV ecosystem?
Well, it's not that there's no funding. It's just there's no massive state-sponsored funding, because all these other chains, they get literally like funds thrown at them left, right, and centre, unlimited amounts of funds, because it's the central banks protecting themselves. Whereas do you think the banks are actually going to give funding to a disruptive technology that actually makes them irrelevant? Don't think so.
This makes absolutely no sense. We have the best technology, so why aren't we getting the support that everybody would expect?
Well, just explain that one.
I hear this every single day, and frankly, I'm tired of the polite answers. So today I'm going to give you the longer version. I'm going to give you the brutal truth. And I guess a little warning up front here, it might hurt a little. The reason we lack support isn't because the tech in BSV blockchain is failing. It's because as a community, we are failing the tech.
No, it hasn't really got anything to do with the community. It's all about utility. That's it. Utility wins out at the end of the day. You can speculate on this, you can speculate on that, you can talk shit till the cows come home. The community can like get their knickers in a twist over stuff, but that is completely irrelevant. It's all hot air. It means nothing. It is utility that wins out at the end of the day. Craig has said this loads of times. But again, the whole point of Bitcoin when it first came out, it was a cash system because the memory pool could more than suffice for worldwide financial transactions. Visa, MasterCard, internet banking. The network could literally absorb all the world's financial transactions, but it couldn't absorb the internet. So what that was kind of like a red herring, because if all the financial institutions were genuine about providing financial services and not blocking regions out, because obviously the Bitcoin network is a commoditized network, literally open to all the world. Anybody can purchase a Bitcoin. Anybody can start mining Bitcoin. Anybody can send Bitcoin anywhere in the world on the network. There's no regional boundaries or barriers to it. But the fact is, if you allow world trade, then you can't suppress countries and make their resources cheaper. And with fiat currency, resources get more and more expensive. However, with Bitcoin, resources become more and more cheaper as the value goes up. So when countries are trying to protect themselves and trying to suppress other countries, this is the only way they can do is blockade them from participating in the financial system. And then, that way, you can control the value of currencies in comparison to one another, because you can restrict the amount of the flow of resources from countries, and you can suppress them. You can't do that with Bitcoin. But the Bitcoin memory pool has basically exposed all the bad actors. That's the whole point of it. So all this about the community failing, not really. You can have the community, full of shitcoiners. You can have the community full of trolls. And at the end of the day, utility would still wipe them out. All their voices and opinion would be completely irrelevant.
Right now, there is too much noise and not enough signal. Instead of being laser focused on utility and productivity, we have a loud minority spreading misinformation, chasing conspiracy.
Don't know about spreading misinformation. I mean, I don't really think the education is out there explaining the protocol. Don't really know who to point the finger at that, but I mean, really, the BSV Association should know and understand the protocol, and they should be explaining it clear as day, and they're not.
Conspiracy theory rabbit holes and fighting battles that have absolutely nothing to do with what blockchain's good for or how it's ever going to help the average person.
And again, what blockchain is good for? Well, blockchain is just a part of the protocol. So really, I think rather than saying it blockchain, it should be what the Bitcoin protocol can be used for, because that's the only way to commoditize data. It's the only way to secure data. It's the only way to stop data being cracked, hacked, altered, changed, and deleted. It's the only way to prevent any one single party from having an advantage through control, because it creates a level playing field. So I don't really like the idea of just using the word blockchain. Because they've used the word blockchain like, oh, it's this mystery thing. A blockchain. Blockchain is just simply a way of indexing data in chunks linked together via hash numbers. That is it.
I think if we're honest with ourselves, maybe 30% of our energy is going towards productive work, and the rest is just distractions. And it's scaring the money away.
I don't think it's scaring the money away. I think the money was never going to come this way anyway, because we're never going to get funding because the deep state, they absolutely understand Bitcoin, which is why they spent so long working on SegWit and removing the digital signatures from the transaction data, because they knew that that would remove all contractual credibility and make the whole thing economically and fundamentally worthless. And what, Peter Wool started on that in 2012 and finally implemented it in 2017. It spent 5 years, thinking about how they can corrupt the chain after they'd restricted it by putting the 1 megabyte block size cap in place in 2010.
So here's the psychology of the mainstream user. The average person can accept maybe one radical new idea at a time. When we try to sell them on the future of data and the future of money, but we wrap it inside 5 other layers of political or conspiracy red pilling, like flat earth theories or fringe politics, they shut down.
Flat earth theories and fringe politics, to be honest with you, there's no way of proving either, so it's just that is a waste of time actually right now.
They become overwhelmed, and well, what do they do in that situation? They retreat. They throw the baby out with the bathwater. They reject the baby, which is our blockchain ecosystem, because they can't swallow the bathwater.
Not really, because if they were genuine about investing, they'd just simply be looking at the utility and the efficiency of it. They'd be like, holy crap, that's like, 1 billion times more efficient than any other digital system that we've used before. Yeah, we'll have it.
Of the conspiracy theories attached to it, and all the other nonsense that people go on about that literally nobody in mainstream actually cares about. And the tragedy is, they're right to shut down and to do this, because right now the same influencers are talking about both of these things.
Yeah, but the thing is, the cabal would just simply fill the space anyway. It's going to be full of bad actors. And that's what Ty is kind of like missing here. The cabal literally they've created the entire shitcoin market. There's over 40,000 coins listed, and like the CIA have probably created, I'd say like 90% of them, and that's just my opinion, because like this is what they do professionally. They are professional saboteurs. They are professional instigators, agents provocateurs. This is what they are. That's what we're up against. So you're always going to get shit in this space, because the cabal will make sure it's there in order to distract people away from the protocol. So you can't tell them to shut up. It's like telling the government to actually do something right for a change. Never going to happen.
They're talking about the baby and the bathwater, and that's the problem with our influencers and with our messaging. So now let's put...
Well, I'll tell you what does need to be clear. That's the protocol needs to be clear, and it needs to be explained. And it's no matter how many times I mention it or try and explain it, people don't seem to get it.
Ourselves into the shoes of an institutional investor, or some of the corporate clients we might want to try to attract. Even, people working on financial projects or regulators.
Well, again, all controlled by the cabal. Really, nothing is going to happen until utility is demonstrated, because Craig is like literally the world's probably, one of the world's best cybersecurity experts. He wouldn't have created Bitcoin unless there was a market and a need for it, which is the need to secure data. Craig knows he is Satoshi Nakamoto. You literally have to trust the plan that he's got. He wasn't going to reveal himself until he got the Tulip Trust back in his possession on the 1st of January 2020. And then he knew he was going to scale it unboundedly, with Teranode, which is what we're, waiting to see demonstrated on the mainnet. The moment that comes on, I suspect that's game over. All this stuff about, the community in the space, arguing over this and that, makes no difference. We're just waiting for utility.
They're standing back and watching, because they see the potential, but they also see the chaff.
I don't think they see the potential, because I don't think they understand the protocol.
They know that if they pour money into this ecosystem right now, or give their support publicly,
Like, basically, it's kind of like, at the moment, literally, unless you explain the protocol, it's literally like kids arguing over my dad's bigger than your dad. Oh, my block's bigger than your blocks. That's it, because they don't understand the protocol.
that money and that support flows just as easily to the crackpots as it does to the genuine builders. They know that funding us now risks amplifying the very voices that discredit our brand image in the eyes of the mainstream consumers.
Yeah, but the cabal was always going to discredit the brand image no matter what. So even if the community is genuine, you're still going to get trolls in there, paid trolls, paid saboteurs.
They are waiting for us to separate ourselves. They're waiting for us to separate the wheat from the chaff. They're waiting for us to prove that we can actually be professionals. We have to stop giving a safe harbor to distractions.
Yeah, but there's no point in appealing to a community that is going to be infiltrated by paid trolls, because they're never going to stop. They get paid to do this.
We have to realize that our brand should be about one thing: solving real problems that everyday people struggle with, like having so many passwords on the internet.
The thing is, though, when you say brand, I mean, like, it's just the protocol, really. The protocol shouldn't really be a brand. It's only brand at the moment because, like I said, we're competing with all these thousands of shitcoins.
Having no ability to own digital assets and to deal directly with one another in a peer-to-peer world powered by micropayments. That's it. The technology is enough of a red pill on its own. It doesn't need help from fringe theories. If we want the resources, if we want the mainstream adoption, we have to look, act, and speak like the global infrastructure we claim to be. We have to separate our...
Yeah, but we can't do that until utility is demonstrated. Literally, utility trumps everything. It's the ace up the sleeve.
ourselves from the noise. The faster we stop platforming the nonsense, the faster the legitimate money will flow. The apples have to come before the apple juice. We are in this together, and I want the best.
Yeah, but including all the trolls, mate. They're in this with us, like the agent provocateurs.
For BSV. But we will remain outcasts until we accept this hard truth and change our tactics. So let's agree to disagree on the other stuff. Set it aside and get back to work like professionals.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think that Ty's view is very naive there in terms of what we're actually up against. But other than that, I agree with everything he said. Let's have a listen to old Craig's response here.
I'm responding to Ty's video, Ty from Babbage, his video about BSV and the crackpots holding it back. I don't think it's the crackpots holding back BSV. Sure, there's a lot of crackpot talk, you could call it, on Twitter. That's just messing around on Twitter. That's not what's holding back BSV. What holds back BSV is BSV's reputation otherwise, as well, and even more so, as the pushback you get from trying to forward BSV, because we...
Yeah, but like I said, the reputation is going to be tarnished by the trolls who are paid saboteurs. So there's nothing there's nothing that the community could do about that.
all know what that means for the middlemen. It's like complete destruction of their whole business model. So that's what holds back BSV. Now, I'm not saying you don't make some good points when I think it is important to consider that you have to know how to deal with people, and you have to be able to, when you're selling BSV, maybe not bring flat earth into it. That I totally get. But I'll tell you what, I do a lot of sales for my business, and I can read people enough. I can mask enough as a normal person to know not to bring those things up. If someone hired me to go sell BSV to someone, I think I could do a great job, and I would never bring up uh, the flat Earth or any of these things, unless they dog whistled by like talking about the horizon or something, looking flat. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, the BSV community on Twitter is not what people are going to be turned on or turned off by with BSV.
Well, anyway, yeah, the community is going to have paid saboteurs and trolls in it, like I've said a million times.
Uh, do 99, like I said in the post the other day, 99.9% of people don't need to look into BSV Twitter to be turned off by BSV. All you have to do is ask ChatGPT about it or Google it or anything else. You're going to get a narrative that is, yeah, BSV is this fringe fork of Bitcoin that's down 70% over the last 7 years, spearheaded by an Australian fraudster who's been proven in court to be not Satoshi Nakamoto. And that's what people see. That's what holds back BSV, in addition to the fact.
Yeah, that is holding back BSV, but that's a purpose narrative, designed to hold back BSV by the powers that be. And the powers that be are the ones who own and control the central banks and everything else in this world right now, which is kind of scary.
That if you start actually push past that and try and use BSV, try and get involved in institutional things, you get a lot of pushback. How many projects have there been that it's like, oh, we're gonna implement this mainstream, we're gonna bridge something to legacy finance, and then all of a sudden, oh, actually, we can't. Sorry, we're shutting that down.
Yeah, exactly. That's happened loads of times. Look at ReallyX, look at Money Button, look at Bitcoin Files, look at Streamanity. All those projects had massive potential, all been sabotaged.
It's fingers on the scale behind the scenes saying, you can't do this. Because, as everyone in BSV pretty much knows, BSV actually fulfills the promise of Bitcoin of getting rid of the middleman, and thus peer-to-peer cash, removing the how many billions, hundreds of billions, trillions of money siphoned off by finance. Not that finance doesn't have a place, but the size that it is and the level that it has become, and
exactly, yeah, the amount of pushback is going to be huge because people have got an economic incentive to push back.
Simply to the inefficiency with the middlemen, that's a huge business. That's what holds back BSV, is that you're
correct
fighting against global monolithic conspiracy.
Absolutely, nailed it.
Which, on BSV Twitter, amongst the BSV community, I think it is important we discuss that because it's important to understand what we're up against here. So
I don't think people actually appreciate just how monolithic and how big the conspiracy is that we're up against. I mean, literally, I've gone right the way back to the Sumerian texts. The Sumerian tablets, the King's List. Like, this thing is just massive.
I just wanted to add that I don't think the flat Earth chatter on Twitter is what's holding back BSV. And also, I don't, if people want to talk about that, that's great. I love to talk about topics like that. But like I said, if I was out selling BSV to somebody, when I'm out selling my business to people, I don't bring up that stuff. I don't bring up BSV, that's for sure. Except for maybe a couple, you feel people out. You read them, that's, if you're in sales, it's not that hard to know this. And I don't think that's what's holding back BSV. But I do appreciate the sentiment in that we should present ourselves professionally. And
yeah, but we've got saboteurs amongst us, mate. I mean, look at Christian Eger-Hansen, look at Steve Shadows, look where they got like right to the top. Literally, you got Christian Eger-Hansen, like literally running the N-Chain at one point, and Shadows being the tech lead. I mean, like, look at what happened.
I appreciate the general spirit of debate amongst the BSVers. And the ability to argue in a way that is productive generally. You don't get that in a lot of communities, and that's how people got to BSV in the first place, is questioning a lot of things. And there's a lot of argument in the BSV community. I see that as a good thing. Here's why that's a good thing. Because we can...
Yeah, because people are still talking about it.
We can actually have discussions about important topics. And obviously we don't all agree. That's what the arguing... That's what stems from the art.
Yeah, and utility will sort that out, because you can't deny that it didn't do like 3 million transactions per second because it's there recorded on the blockchain.
Arguing is a result of, and that's great. but I think it's holding back BSV. So anyway, thank you. God bless you. Hope you're all doing well.
Nice one, Craig. Yeah, pretty sound. I agree with all of that. 35 minutes. Have a quick look at the figures. $92,000 for Greg Coin, $21 for Bitcoin. Transactions 5.4. Ooh, block size though 75.89. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's still relatively small. 40,000 times cheaper. Mining Bitcoin at a 5.5% comparable loss. Politics in the pie charts. Greg Coin, other miners 7.64. B Crash other miners 15.2. Fisher Price Cash other miners 33. And again, not showing the figures there. So transactions on BSV just 28,000. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Let's have a look at the mining though. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 miners on there. Mining Dutch in the lead, 23.13. Let's have a look at the market. Oh, they've just gone out. Let's have a look. Anything? Oh yeah, another one's gone in. So it's gone from 184.7 to 185.3. So what, 600 million gone in there just today, you know, propping up their scam coin. Got to keep the scam going. Yeah, that's what's going on. And money, we just looked at that. So market cap 98 million. Great stuff. Short ratios, 0.2%. Price action, just looks like it's kind of a... Oh, sort of just popped up, coming back down, running sideways there. All right. Bitcoin versus Greg Coin, yeah. Just sort of running sideways and down at the moment, but the further it goes down, the more potential it's got, and the cabal know it. Yeah, Bitcoin versus Greg Coin there. Let's have a look at BSV, USD. Oh, so it went down and just popped up again. Nice. 365 days of Bitcoin history on the 4th of December 2010. Hal Finney predicted ordinals back in 2010. He said, in discussion on the BitDNS thread, I came up with an idea for overlaying other protocols onto Bitcoin. From one point of view, Bitcoin is a global, decentralized, yet a consistent database. The DB is used to record transfer of coins, but it could potentially be used for more. There are many applications for a global, consistent database. Borrowing from my BitDNS description, the way this would work is we would use the mysterious and extravagant scripting system to add additional data to regular Bitcoin transactions. These would look like NOPs to current clients and be ignored, but overlay aware clients would look inside the NOP block and see the extra protocol's specific data and interpret it according to the overlay protocol. And again, Teranode is now using overlays as well. Awesome. 4th of December 2013, the Kentucky police chief to be paid in Bitcoin. That was hilarious. And 4th of December 2020, Peter McCormack, in a reply to Tone Vase, posted out on Twitter X, or Twitter, now X, Craig Wright submitted a crazy amount of evidence that he is Satoshi in my lawsuit. What's your point? Let's see if it's still there. It is still there. And that was in response to Tone Vase saying, clearly you have not been watching the hearings. I watched Michigan yesterday and plan to watch Georgia today. There is a crazy amount of evidence if you care to listen to the hearings. So Peter McCormack just like an off-the-cuff remark. Yeah, but Craig Wright submitted a crazy amount of evidence that he's Satoshi in my lawsuit. What's your point? Honestly, that guy cracks me up. Just because the level of dumbness is literally just like off the charts. Off the charts. 4th of December 2021, Bitcoin drops at 9k in an hour on spot market selling. El Salvador again buys the dip. Oh dear, oh dear. But again, I mean, this is when they were buying at 48,000, so they're still winning there. You know, hey ho. Right, Kellenschweller countdown. It is now Thursday, the 4th of December. We're on day 77 of the Kellenschweller countdown. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss what happens when the countdown eventually finishes. So there we go. We'll leave you there. Hope you enjoyed it. As ever, be aware, take care, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.
The king still has one more move.